morning, Laura. We'll give it a minute or so before we see if anybody else comes in. All right. All right. Well, let's get this started. Laura, it looks like it's just you this morning. So lucky you, right? Can you hear me okay? I'm going to assume. Okay. We definitely can do that. All right. Well, let me log into Dotloop. Let me get in there real quick. All right, here we go. Let me share that screen. All right, you should be able to see it. If you can't, just type in the chat and let me know. All right. Okay, perfect. So more than anything, I'm gonna want you just to watch me and just kind of watch it, and you'll see how it goes. You already have a decent understanding of Dotloop, so we'll go ahead and we'll get started here. So when you come into Dotloop, you notice that yours might not look like this with a list of your properties. Yours might look like this. This is where you switch views. Now, I have a ton of files that I look over, so this to me is too cluttered. So I like the list view, which is this little icon right here. Gives me back to that view. Okay. So now, when you are going, and if you get a lot of transactions in here, you can just type in the start of the address, and it will pull it up, or the properties that correspond to some of those numbers. Okay, so you can search by those properties that way. Okay, now don't be too concerned with whether this is a listing for sale or under contract. That's just for organizational purposes. It has nothing to do with MLS or anything like that. Okay, but just so you know, you can label them purchase, listing, listing for lease, lease others. Okay, you can make them under contract, or you can mark them as sold or leased if it's a lease, or you can archive that transaction. Like, let's say the transaction cancels, then you can just archive it. It doesn't get deleted, it just goes into an archive folder. Okay, nothing in Dotloop could be deleted. So when this one sells, I'll go ahead and mark it as sold. Okay, if it's under contract, I'll just go under contract, just for organizational purposes on those. Okay, now one thing that's over here too, which I like to show people, is notice this little filter button. If I click this filter button, I can filter what I want. So let's say you want to pull back one of your old sold files. We just click the sold, And we can come back in here and we can start typing. We can hit filter. Now this pulls up all of my solds which are closed, okay? So that's a way how you can filter that out. You can do the same thing if you work with leases. Now notice it's grayed out when you have the sold, but if I undo the sold, now we have the lease. We can also look up archived ones, files that we've archived. We hit filter. Now here's all our files that we archived, okay? So just a little tip there on finding old files. Okay, so, and then one thing about the sold, when you switch this to sold, okay, and then if you hit the refresh or the next time you come into it, that one will be put in the sold folder, okay? Just because you change this to sold by clicking sold doesn't mean that it's going to disappear, okay? All right, now let's talk about creating a new file, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to hit create a loop. Now, we're going to name our loop. We name our loops by the address. If you look at them all, they're by the address, and then some people put the name of the buyer after the address, okay? That way, because we keep it that way because we keep track of all of our files by the address, okay? So makes it just easier for us when we're doing our transaction management side of it, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to create a loop. So we're going to name it. Okay. Now, I don't know how it is in Utah, but here in Arizona, I can start typing in the address, and let's say I would think that it starts pulling it in for you guys, okay? So 1231, I meant to say 1, 2, 3, 4. If the listing is active, you're going to go ahead and select that listing, and then you're going to take the next step to import data, okay? I'm not going to do that here because that's not what I'm going to do. But now, when it imports the data, it'll pull some of that data in for you, and already populated in the purchase contract for you. Okay, so now I have my address in. I have my address in. Now, if your office has set up templates for you, you're going to see this option here to pick something. Okay, so here we always want to do a template, not a shell. Okay, so just if you guys have templates and shells, just be sure you always use a template. So we have a resale listing template. We have the resale contract template. Okay, so I'm just going to use the resale listing template. Then I'm going to hit create a loop. Now, it's going to pull up all of our documents that they have in the listing folder. Now, there's some that might not be in there, which is okay, because we can go in and get them, but it's the most common ones used. Notice, though, on a listing, there's two sides of the deal, okay? So we have the listing folder, but we also have the sale folder or the buyer folder. So when we get the buyer documents and the house under contract, we're going to add all those documents into this side of the folder, okay? So we have a listing. We're going to start filling it out. Now, when you start filling this out, it's going to ask you this question right here. Autofill. And yes, you want to do the best you can when you autofill it. So we're going to select a person, okay? So the person isn't on here. We're going to go ahead and add a person. And the buyer's name is Jimmy Johns. Can I tell I'm hungry so far this morning? Jimmy Johns. Okay, we're going to add his email. Jimmy Johns. How about we just go JJ at nomail.com. Okay, so his role is the seller. I'm going to click seller. Now, if you enter this information here, it'll auto-populate it everywhere in the contracts that it needs it. Okay, so if you take the time to put in the phone number, his address, and all of that, then you'll be good to go when it comes to page, well, here it's page 9 in the contract. Okay, so once we get him done, we're not adding the seller to my team though, okay? So let's just keep that straight. We don't add the seller to the team. Now what we're gonna do, so we're gonna click add person. So if there was a buyer too, we would go ahead and add another person, and it's Jane Johns, okay? We would fill out our information. Now the buying agent would be you. Go ahead and put that, select that, because it'll put most of that information in for you. Then all we do is we hit autofill. Okay, so now it autofilled this for me. My brokerage, my name. All I have to do now is I'm representing the seller, is check my boxes. And notice, by us saying that there was not a second seller, it made this one no one for you automatically. So therefore, you don't have to go and change it to no one. And then Jimmy to sign there. Once we're done with this form, we're going to save this form. We're not going to save and share yet because I want to send them all in one lump email. Okay? So I'm going to hit the back button. I'm going to come here to my next form. And I'm going to start fill. It's going to ask me to autofill. So the seller, we're going to put Jimmy Johns. There's no seller 2. Make that no one. Seller 3, no one. Seller 4, no one. The listing agent is me. The listing brokerage is Keller Williams East Valley. Okay? So then I can come in here and I can put in the street number. Legal description. I'm not going to go and do all that right now. I'm just going to go ahead and autofill. Now, notice if I would have put those dates in there, it would have auto-populated those dates for me. I'm selling this property. I'm going to click the calendar. Listing starts today. Ends there. We can all autofill this, okay? So I don't need to go through on how to autofill. Now, notice by us making the second seller, third seller, fourth seller say no one, notice how it made no one, but it auto-placed Jimmy John's signatures or initials for him to initial, okay? To fill out these boxes, obviously you just click in it and you put what you need in here. Check marks, we just check the boxes, okay? This is the easy part, okay? So we can, let me just come down to the bottom of this. Okay, so now we're here at the bottom. Notice it says Jimmy to sign here, seller sign here, seller sign here, seller sign here. There's only one seller. So we need to make these say no one. Otherwise, it won't complete the loop when Jimmy signs. So I'm surprised these are here and they don't say no one already, but it's a good training tool. We need us to say no one. So we click on their name, we come up here to where this drops down, and we make it say no one. It's very important if there's only one or two people that all of these say no one, because it will not complete the loop, okay? Now, here where I'm the listing agent and I need to sign it. So what we can do now is we can just go sign now, adopt and sign this signature. Now I've already signed it. Lead-based paint. Anything that you need to sign, we can get that done just by clicking that button like that. Okay? We're done with this document. We hit save. Okay, so we're going to hit the back button. We filled out all of the forms that we need to fill out. Okay? Notice how some still say optional, but the two forms we did open say not submitted. So that's how you can tell which ones that you've made changes to. So let's say I want to send these listing documents out for signature. I'm going to click the boxes that I want to send that I've already filled out. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to hit the share button. Now, Jimmy's going to sign 8 fields and he can sign only. That's perfect, okay? We don't want to send him anything that says fill and sign. Because if I can drop this down, he can go in and fill stuff in. Well, I don't want him changing anything to the contract. So it just can sign. Now, a lot of people will send the profile form that can fill and sign, or they try to anyway, and then they get the biggest complaint saying, it takes too long, the seller doesn't want to fill this out this way. So really try, excuse me, try to keep from having your buyers or sellers fill stuff out. I never do it. If that's the case, I'm going to meet them and have them fill it out in person. Okay, so this little button, attach as a PDF to email. I always attach these as a PDF when I send them. That way it's easy for them to download, they can keep the files on their computer, and they can send them off. Once I do that, I hit share. Okay, so now this file is sent out. Oh, you know what? I forgot to do something. How do I fix it? Okay. I can come in here and hit the share button. See how it says reshare and more options? I'm going to click that. Now, notice how it says that Jimmy Johns is waiting, but I have an X here. I'm going to hit the X. This person will no longer have access to this. Hit continue. Notice this is now not shared where this one says waiting on others, because I forgot to do something and I did it on purpose. Okay, so I'm going to come here. I'm going to remove this. Hit continue. Now, I forgot to add a message. Those two are still checked. I'm going to hit share. But I forgot to say, Jimmy, can you please review and sign? If you have any questions, please feel free to call me to discuss. We always want to put some type of disclaimer like that on there because it's an extra layer of protection. We just don't want to send something for him to sign without giving him the option. If you don't understand, please call me to discuss. Okay, just another layer of protection. We attach it, we hit share, and it goes out for him to sign. When he signs, you'll get an email notification, and this will also say, instead of not shared or waiting on others, it would say signed. Okay, so that's how you know it's been signed. Now, Vicki will usually be in your file and she'll submit it to the broker. Okay, now let's say you go and you do the final walkthrough and it's the last thing you need and you just need to get that in order to get your check. Okay, so let's say it's just this document that you need to submit for review to the broker. We just check that document. We come up here to the top and we hit submit for review. Okay, that automatically goes to the broker. They'll review the file, they'll mark this complete, and then your file will be complete and you can get your check. Okay, you can submit stuff whenever you want, but Vicky's usually pretty good about it, and she'll stay on top of the file for you, letting you know what you need. But in that one case when it's a Friday afternoon, 4:45, Vicky's probably already gone. You're at the broker's office. Hey, I need my check. Oh, you need this. Oh, I have it in there. Let me submit it. Click it, submit, you're good to go. Okay? Now, that's your listing side of the folder. Okay? When you get a purchase contract on this listing and you need to get it uploaded into Dotloop. Same way you're going to add any documents to this folder, we're going to name it, come into this folder. We're just going to click add document. Now, there's two places that we can get these documents. Well, there's three actually, but most of the two that you're going to use are already on your computer, which you'll use browse, or they're templates, which we'll get to in a sec. Okay? So this is the sale folder. I'm going to look for a purchase contract that that was emailed to me. I'm going to browse my computer for it. I'm going to select that file, and I'm going to open it. Notice now it uploaded that purchase contract into this. Okay? So now I need to send this out for my seller for him to sign and execute it. Okay? So here's the purchase contract. Notice there's no seller signatures. It's not executed. Well, this is a PDF that you brought in from your computer, so it doesn't know that it needs to place signatures here. This is the one time you have to place initials and signatures. Checkboxes, all that type of stuff, okay, is when you bring a file in. So I need to have my seller initial. I'm going to come here to add. I'm going to select the initials. I'm going to click where I want them. You can drag it and move it wherever you want to place it, and I'm going to hit assign field. Well, my seller's Jimmy John, so I need to select Jimmy John. Okay? So I'm going to go through, and I'm going to place initials for him. Now, oops, I made a mistake. I clicked signature instead of initials. Okay? So I don't want that there. Okay? So I come right up here. Notice this little X. I hit that X, and now it's gone. I'm going to come here and hit add initial. And I'm going to place it where I want, and I'm going to assign it to Jimmy John. Okay, now we're just going to pretend this is an addendum or a counter. That way I don't bring in another form. Okay, so on my, let's just pretend this is the addendum. I need to add some text here. I'm going to come here to add. I'm going to put text, and I'm going to click where I want that box. Drag it where I want it. Very important that you make this the size you need it. If you type all the way to the end, it won't do another line. You have to come in and you have to put a new box. So I fill this up. Okay. It will keep going and make the box bigger to that spot, but it's not what we want. Okay, so we need to do another line. We're going to hit add text and add another text box. Okay, because you have to be sure that you get it fit what you need in that box. So hopefully you understand that. And then you fill this, type in what you want here. come in here, add another box, type what you want, and you're good to go. Okay? Now, if you need to add a checkbox to something, you're just going to click Add Checkbox, put the checkbox where you want it, position where you want it, and click in there to add the checkbox. Okay? You can also add strike-throughs. You want to strike something out of the contract. You can add that strike-through. I don't know why that's not working. Anyway, but you can do that. Our broker, whenever it calls for a date, like where they need to sign, our broker is okay with the timestamp that is placed there by Dotloop, because when I sign it, it timestamps it and dates it for us, so we don't need to double date it. And I'm sure your broker would be okay with that as well too. Okay. So, any questions on how to place signatures, check boxes, how to do any of that stuff before we move on? Okay, so once we have all of those in place, we're going to hit save. We're going to go back to our loop. Now, I need to add another form in here that's not in here. So I'm going to click Add a Document, and I'm going to go to my templates. Now, in here, we have our Armless Interactive forms and our Arizona Association forms. So let's say I need to add an addendum. I'm going to click the addendum. I'm going to hit copy. It's going to import that form for me. Notice how the addendum form is here. Okay? So we can go in and get any form that we need. Okay? Or if you have another system out there like zip forms. I don't know what you guys have out there, but let's say you have zip forms where you do all your forms. You can download that, pull it in here, fill it out, and you're good to go. Okay? If you want to change the name of a document, okay? Like, let me upload something and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so I scan something to myself. It comes in as this funky code, okay? To have a bunch of these in here, I want to rename what that is, okay? So I'm going to come over here to the right-hand side. Notice these little dots. I'm going to just click on that, and I'm going to hit rename. I can come over here, delete this out, call it whatever I want, and hit enter, and now it's changed the name, okay? So over here, you also have, you can download this document. So I need to download this document to email to somebody. I'm just going to click download. It will download that document. I can then attach it as an email and send it out. Well, this form here, you know what? It was a form I typed. It's not executed, but I got another one executed, signed by everybody. I want to get rid of this one. I can archive it. Now, when you archive it, doesn't mean it deleted it. It just took it off the list. Sometimes you'll click the wrong one and you'll say, oh no, I archived it. I got rid of it. How do I get it back? I come up here to the top where it says show archives. I'll come down here. Notice here is my form. Going to come over here to the right and I have unarchived. So now I can come back here and now it's back in my folder. Okay, so you had this listing, it was under contract. Now, it fell out, it canceled. They didn't like something about the inspection or any reason it canceled. Dang it, what do? I got to do a whole new loop. No, you don't. what we're just going to do is the sale folder. We're going to archive this whole folder. Okay, notice now it's gone. We can, oh, I did that on accident. I can bring it back. Okay, so we can archive it. Now, well, I get a new contract. I'm going to add a new folder, and I'm going to call this Buyer 2 folder. How about Bury? How about Buyer? Okay, so Buyer 2 folder, and we're good to go. Now we'll start putting all of our documents in the Buyer 2 folder. You don't like where that is? You can pull it down and pull it to the bottom because you want your listing folder on top. Okay. That's pretty much the nuts and bolts of Dotloop. I know we just covered a ton of stuff, but that's how you pretty much manage it. You got any questions? Is there anything that you've tried and it didn't work? Okay. And keep in mind, Vicky's always here. I'm always here. Okay. So we can usually help you out that way too if you need things. Okay. All right then, Laura. Well, if you don't have any more questions, I will let you go, and I hope you have a great day. Are you going to sit that tent today? All right then. Well, hopefully you have a great day, and we will talk to you. If you need anything, just, I'm always a Friday and Saturday, good days. If you need anything, just let us know, okay? Thanks a lot. Thanks for attending. Talk to you later. Bye.